Appendix. A few circumstances having come out in conversations with Harriet, they are added here as they may be of interest to the reader. On asking Harriet particularly as to the age of her mother, she answered, "Well, I'll tell you, Mrs. 23 years ago in Maryland, I paid a lawyer $5 to look up the will of my mother's first master. He looked back 60 years and said it was time to give up. I told him to go back further. He went back 65 years. When there he found the will, giving the girl Rita to his granddaughter, Mary Patterson, to serve her and her offspring till she was 45 years of age. This granddaughter died soon after, unmarried, and as there was no provision for Rita, in case of her death, she was actually emancipated at that time. But no one informed her of the fact, and she and her dear children remained in bondage till emancipated by the courage and determination of this heroic daughter and sister. The old woman must then, it seems, be 98 years of age, and the old man has probably numbered as many years. And yet these old people, living out beyond the toll gate on the South Street Road, Elburn, come in every Sunday more than a mile to the Central Church. To be sure, deep slumbers settle down upon them as soon as they are seated, which continue undisturbed till the congregation is dismissed. But they have done their best, and who can doubt that they receive a blessing? Immediately after this they go to class meeting at the Methodist Church. And they wait for a third service, and after that start out home again. On asking Harriet where they got anything to eat on Sunday, she said in her quiet way, "Oh, these old folks nibbler eats anything on Sunday, missy. We nibblers have no food to get for dem on Sunday. Dey's always fast, and these nibblers eats anything on Fridays. Good Friday and 5 Fridays hang Gwyn from Good Friday. My federal nibbers eats or drinks all day, fasting for the 5 bleeding wounds of Jesus. All the other Fridays of the year we neighbors eat down. Then he takes a little tea and a piece of the bread. But is he a Roman Catholic, Harriet? Oh no, missy. He does it for conscience. He was taught to do so down south. He says if he denies himself for the suffering of his Lord and Master, Jesus will sustain him." It had been mentioned that Harriet never asked anything for herself, but whenever her people were in trouble, or she felt impelled to go south to guide to freedom friend or brother or father and mother, if she had not time to work for the money, she was persistent till she got it from somebody. When she received one of her intimations that the old people were in trouble, and it was time for her to go to them, she asked the Lord where she should go for the money. She was in some way, as what she supposed, directed to the office of a certain gentleman in New York. When she left the house of her friends to go there, she said, "I'm going to Mister's office, and I ain't going to leave there, and I ain't going to eat or drink till I get enough money to take me down after your old people." She went to the gentleman's office. "What do you want, Harriet?" was the first greeting. "I want some money, sir." "You do? How much do you want?" "I want $20, sir." "$20? Who told you to come here for $20? "The Lord told me, sir." "Well, I guess the Lord's mistaken this time." "I guess he isn't, sir. Anyhow, I'm going to sit here till I get it." So she sat down and went to sleep. All the morning and all the afternoon she sat there still sleeping and rousing up, sometimes finding the office full of gentlemen, sometimes finding herself alone. Many fugitives were passing through New York at that time, and those who came in supposed that she was one of them, tired out and resting. Sometimes she would be roused up with the words, "Come, Harriet, you had better go. There's no money for you here." "No, sir, I'm not going till I get me $20. She does not know all that happened, for deep sleep fell upon her. But probably her story was whispered about, and she roused at last to find herself the happy possessor of $60, which had been raised among those who came into the office. She went on her way rejoicing to bring her old parents from the land of bondage. She found that her father was to be tried the next Monday for helping off slaves. So, as she says, she removed his trial to a higher court and hurried him off to Canada. One more little incident, which it is hoped may not be offensive to the young lady to whom it alludes, may be mentioned here, showing Harriet's extreme delicacy in asking anything for herself. Last winter, 67 or 68, as we all know, the snow was very deep for months, and Harriet and the old people were completely snowed in their little home. The old man was laid up with rheumatism, and Harriet could not leave home for a long time to procure supplies of corn, if she could have made her way into the city. At length, stern necessity compelled her to plunge through the drifts to the city, and she appeared at the house of one of her firm and fast friends and was directed to the room of one of the young ladies. She began to walk up and down as she always does when in trouble. At length she said, "Miss Annie." "What, Harriet?" A long pause, then again, "Miss Annie." "Well, what is it, Harriet?" This was repeated 4 times, when the young lady, looking up, saw her eyes filled with tears. She then insisted on knowing what she wanted, and with a great effort she said, "Miss Annie, could you lend me a quarter till Monday? I never asked it before." Kind friends immediately supplied all the wants of the family, but on Monday Harriet appeared with the quarter she had borrowed. But though so timid for herself, she is bold enough when the wants of her race are concerned. Even now, while friends are trying to raise the means to publish this little book for her, she is going around with the greatest zeal and interest to raise a subscription for her Freedmen's Fair. She called on Honorable William H. Stewart the other day for a subscription to this object. He said, "Harriet, you have worked for others long enough. It is time you should think of yourself. If you ask for a donation for yourself, I will give it to you, but I will not help you to rob yourself for others." Harriet's charity for all the human race is unbounded. It embraces even the slaveholders. It sympathizes even with Jeff Davison, and rejoices at his departure to other lands with some prospect of peace for the future. She says, "I think there's many slaveholders get to heaven. They don't know no better. They acts up to the light they have. You take this sweet little child," pointing to a lonely baby. "It appears more like an angel than anything else. Take her down there and let her neighbor know nothing about niggers, but they was made to be whipped, and she'd grow up to use the whip on 'em just like the rest. No, missus, it's because they don't know better. May God give the people to whom the story of this woman should come a little charity, so that through their kindness the last days of her stormy and troubled life may be calm and peaceful." End of the appendix.